Most men will never understand the one truth that silently determines whether a woman desires you or forgets you. And that's this. Validation is not kindness. It's chemical leverage. And a woman's brain is wired not optionally but biologically to crave. It not once, not sometimes, but relentlessly. Every compliment, every glance of admiration, every text that says "Amisu" triggers a chemical response most identical to a drug. This is not a metaphor. It's neurobiology. It's depth, and it's addictive. Now, here's the twist. No one ever tells you. Just like any drug, validation loses its power the moment it becomes predictable. You keep praising her, telling her how she is texting. Good morning and good night, thinking it's making her feel closer to you. It's not that, it's making her numb. Her brain adjusts. Her thrill fades. Her emotion tolerance builds. And you start becoming advisable. You see, this is the trap. Most men fall into thinking love is earned through endless approval. But attraction doesn't work like that. The who truly understand. Women don't chase them. They calibrate because eighth mastered one law of desire. Scarcity breeds value. Consistency breeds contempt. Validation addiction. Emotional gap. 1. Let's call it wattages. Validation is currency. And most men, they spend it like beggars. They make deposit after deposit hoping for emotional return. They praise, they affirm, they flatter, all with one goal: to feel needed, to feel loved. Buffett's not attractive. That's emotion algorithming. The high-value man doesn't do . He understands the 7,030 rule. 70% approval, warmth, presence. 30% absence, mystery, space. Just enough to feed the never enough to smother it. That's the balance that keeps her chasing. So instead of saying you always look good, say you look incredibly taut. That color does something to you. Make your praise earned. Make it specific. Make her wonder, did he real? That why did that feel so different? That moment of curiosity. That's the real dopamine hit. But hair swear most men lose again. They keep repeating the same compliments. You're a beautiful. You're amazing. You're a perfect. And soon, those words become noise. So shift your validation. Praise her mind when it cuts through the noise. Praise her strength when she makes the hard choice. Praise her originality when she's the feast. Fear the validations that beer steeper not. Because they flattered surface, but because they affirmed the Machiavellian verse this, long before psychology gave it a name. Power is not given to everything. Power is given. And that's exactly what validation is. It's leverage. It's as it's control without control. Spend it like an investor, not like a gambler throwing his last coin into that dark. No. A warning. There's a fine line between mystery and emotional. Too much attention, she gets bored. Too little, she gets cold. Thicky rhythm. Feed her, but never fill her. Let her feel your presence, but never own it. That is not cruelty. That is clarity. Soft pulse beat builds. If this gets deep, it's because you are ready to hear it. Most men won't reach this level of awareness. But you're nether to beverage. You're here to learn how traction actually works, and are just getting started now that you understand validation. Her first craving. Let me show you this emotional gap, the one that burns slightly underneath her words, the one she says she doesn't want. But can it leave without emotional gap too? Her addiction towns. This is trap that breaks most men. And the worst part, they walk into it smiling because they believe what she says. Even security. I just want someone I can assist. I want stability. So they give it. They give everything. They text back in seconds. They map out next 6 months. They tell her everything she wants to hear. And then suddenly, she pulls back. She ghosts. She needs space. she doesn't feel the same more, and hesits there wondering. But I gave her everything. I gave her exactly what she said she wanted. Buffers the reality no one talks about. What she says she wants often kills her attraction. The moment she gets it, because her nervous system isn't wired for peace, it's wired for tension. Not chows, not abuse, but unpredictability, the mystery of what's next. The subtle unpredictability of a manch cannot fully decode the moment she can't predict your next move. That's when she lawns. And Baha certainty dulls her ear, predictability numbs her body security. When handed freely, doesn't soothe her. It bores her. Think of Booth. Nice guy. She rejected. He made her feel safe, but she didn't feel anything. Here's the psychology behind it. There's a Garnick effect. The mind become best with what is unfinished, with unresolved, with stories that never closed. And women, the arrow masters of emotional storylines. Wench can read you like a book. When there's no suspense, her mind goes, and the still mind is a bored one. That's why the most magnetic men, they didn't explain everything. They don't narrate their emotions. They live them. They speak in shadows, not outlines. They let her wonder. They are 70% revealed, 30% hidden. Not to manipulate, but to maintain polarity. That's not deception. That's discipline. So when she asks about your past, give her fragments. Let her imagination chase a thesis. When she asks about your future, share your vision, but never the blueprint. Power is not in what you use, it's in what you withhold. Machiavelli knew this too. A prince reveals every intentionless the war before it begins. A mano can be decoded becum as forgil. Let me be clear. Mystery is not a game. It is a result. You don't pretend to be Miss, you become mysterious be. Actually having a life that she can't predict or control. Because you're a binging something, because you're fake used on a mission, because you're not there to impress her. You're there to include her. Want an example? She asks you, did you do today? You say had a meeting that might change a few things. I'll tell you later. Then you move on. You don't overshare. You don't explain no. Her mind ignites. What meeting? What things? What's changing? Suddenly, she becomes her own question. And you're the answer she can't touch. That's not a mind game. That's biology. You're not feeding her trivia. You're regulating her tension. You're letting her just the plot, not just read these Mary. But here's where men miss this up. They create mystery with nothing behind it. Hollow words, empty drama, fake stories. That's not amistry. That's insecurity. Real mystery is backed by substance. You didn't say you're busy. You are actual. You don't act mysterious. You are unexplainable. You're evolving faster than she can predict. So here is new law. You didn't pour the water. You offer acid, then walk away. Opens a door and leaves 5 more questions behind. But remember, you have 90 days not to impress her, but to provide your mystery has weight. That your slants is temptiness. It's momentum. Because if you fail, mystery becomes annoying. But if you succeed, it becomes an obsession. She starts to think about you and you're a net around. She replays your words insolence. She questions herself. Baptist reversal. She's no longer the one bong pursued. She becometh one who see in you. You didn't beg. You didn't chase. You didn't perform. You became the question that haunts. And you never had to raise your voa. You're about to enter the battleground that triggers harassed most primal response. The third emotional gap, the one that doesn't just spark desire, it creates obsession. Emotional gap. CH3. The power of female compassion. She will never admit it, but it controls more of her emotional world than she knows. It's the ancient mechanism passes through evolution. Thera instinct that whispers to her. If other women want him, he must be valuable. It's not about boot love. It's about status. It's about a scarcity. It's about being the one. Hones them and every woman watches. You think this is just modern dating? It's not. This goes back thousands of years, long before Tinder or texting. Back when choosing the right man called literally mean the difference between survival and suffering. So what did her subconscious learn? Desire, a man's desire. Chaisi the man. Other shays never attach to what no one else wants. This isn't manipulation. This is mating psychology. This is the jungle disguised in heels and yoi facho it works. You're just a gish Berlinist. Then one woman smiles at you, another laughs at your joke. A third touches your arm-light lion conversation. Now suddenly, you're irresistible that her brain kicks into survival mode. Why are they looking at them like that? Why do they see that I didn't? If I don't act no, I'll lose in that boo. Her instincts signate. Now she has to claim you. Not because she planned to you, because a myth and primal took over you become evaluated by the tribe. Machiavellian. This principle, a prince with only one alliance is vulnerable, but prince courted by many holds leverage. Isn't about being a flirt. It's about presence, about the energy you bring into a room. Women notice how other women respond to you. They study your social gravity, your charisma, your confidence, not the words you say. Putha people listen when you speak. Here's most men ruin it. They try to force female competition. They flirt in front of their partner. They bring up a woman to make her jealous. They create tension with no tact, and it backfires not because the principle is wrong, but because the execution is sloppy. You didn't need to manufacture interest. You need to become a man who naturally attracts it. How? By buying misiondrav. By being disciplined by bong sophocust, so in flow that women are pulled into your orbit with you're not chasing your, not performing your living welland. Wench sees that when she feels that other women see your value, she locks in because she doesn't want to lose Yao Tome. Now, here's the tightrope. If you push this too far, if you intentionally make her feel like she's in a constant war for your attention, you'll trigger Panino and not passion. She beckaminia stiffnins. She won't feel kaizen. Sheffield. Disposable. And when that happens, you're no longer the mystery. You're the threat. So by sight, let her see your options, but also let her feel chosen, not because y'all have no other choice, but because from the women in their room, you chose her. Imagine this. You're at a party. A woman starts chatting with you. You didn't shut her down. You didn't overrange either. You're spend like Ian, who knows his worth, who's centered, not shaken. Your partner watches not with fear, but with curiosity, with pride, with a touch of fire, because she realizes you could have Ian Yon. By standing next to her, that's not just desire, that's devotion through perception. But let me warn you again. Use this gap without precision, and it will destroy the very connection you're trying to build. Use it with control. NJs will feel what no words can express. This man is not mine, but he chose me. That feeling, that edge, that's what makes her stay. Not out of fear, not out of need, but out of sacred respect. You've learned to spark her. Now you must learn to hold it, because what ignites her body isn't always waitensures her soul. This is where 90% of men fail. Not because they're weak, but because they've never been taught what real strength looks like. Emotional gap for 4. Emotionality. The anchor she searches for. Let's be very clear. She does not need a savior. She does not need a man who rushes in to fix her lifer, wipes her tears with promises, or panics when she panics. What she needs with her nervous system subconscious likers is a man who doesn't flinch when she trembles. A man who doesn't collapse when she storms. A man whose emotional state is unshakable because her chaos is not a call for comfort. It is a test, to see. Can you hold me without losing yourself? Machiavelli said, He who cannot command himself will never command others. This applies to love more than war, because the baffled wild of attraction isn't out there. It's in here inside her emotions. When she spirals, most men mirror her stress. They rushetto fix it to plain to apologize to give her words when all she needed was spaccato. But the man who leads emotional idols and react, he regulates. He listens without absorbing. He holds space without retreating. He lets her express her frustration, her confusion, even her fear, and still remains steady, not cold, not detached, centered. Hair swathed, looks like inaction. She says, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. You don't cut the off. You don't offer solutions right away. You say, that sounds really heavy. Tell more. Not to impress, not to fix. Udo proved that her storm can't shake your foundation, that she can feel without managing your emotions. To that she doesn't have to shrink herself just to keep your world balance. Do you know how rare that is? Woman, how seen and safe does that make her feel? Most men demand emotional comfort from women. The high-value man provides it. But here's the catch. Leadership is not controlled. Leadership is scum. Clarity. It's in how you breathe, how you respond, how you move through thaw without burning her Oreo self. It's when she's drowning in uncertainty, and you don't pull her out. You hold the rope and let her find hearing. You don't become her therapist. You don't become her rescuer. You become her anchor. Now listen closely. If you cannot regulate your own emotions, if you collapse under her pain, if you lush out when she's vulnerable, you are another rock. You are antherbedden another source of pressure. Another man who can be trusted with realer and shul retreatant. Linton, because she can't feel feminine in the presence of a manmo, feels more emotionally unstable than she does. But when you master this, when you're spun to her emotions not with solutions, but with presence, something happens. She begins to relax into you. She begins to trust you in that trust. That it births the kind of connection most men will never experience. Not just affection, not just attraction, but devotion. The kind that makes her feel like she's come home. And she won't Devon be able to explain why. That's not manipulation. That's mastery. Because emotional leadership isn't about commanding her. It's about commanding your emotional gap. 5. Psychological Pisanal A. They'll code only Theli decode. Most men never make it there. They plateau. They rely on charm, on tricks, on repeating what worked with last girl, hoping it works again. But women are not formulas. They are fingerprints. And if you treat her like you type instead of a code, you will always be guessing. And eventually she'll vanish. You want the unfair advantage. Here it is. Stop applying tactics. Start reading patterns. This isn't it's about discernment. Because every woman, even the moss-carded, has a blueprint, a set of emotional reflexes that reveal exactly how she wants to be led. Let's break it down. 1. She constantly asks how is always seeking reassurance. She posts selfies and watches for likes. She gets quiet when she doesn't feel seen. Her dominant emotional gap, eyes validation. You don't flutter with compliments. You treat praise like a currency, not confetti. You offer it with intention when she earns it, not when she expects it. You don't sigh. You're beautiful every hour. You wait for that moment. She doubts herself, and then you say it like you mean it. 2. She's anxious when you take too long to reply. She asks about your plans, your day, your intentions. She can't handle ambiguity. Her dominant emotional gap isn't. You give her stability through presence, not predictability. You don't explain every move. You maintain that 30% shadow. You don't disappear, but you don't narrate your every breath. Either. You become the man she trusts without needing to track. 3. She brings up other women. She gets jealous easily. She wants to know about your exes, who you talk to, who likes your posts. Her dominant emotional gap is competition. You don't provoculously. You satisfy her instinct with display. You remind her that you have the options, but you chose her. Not from discernment, but from discernment. You were surrounded by opportunity. And yet, there you arabesed her. That feeling that she wanted makes her fight to keep you brothers. What separates boys from men? A boy guesses which gap is dominant. And he pays attention to the microsignals, the words she repeats, their actions she gives when tested, her insecurities, her strengths. He doesn't just seduce her. He studies her, and not just to get her, but to hold her with pursuit, and that's what shakes her to core. Not just being loved, but being understood. You becometh man who doesn't flatter her skin. You affirm her soul. You don't just say she's smart. You notice how her eyes light up when she solves a problem. You didn't sigh strong. You tell her you admire her. She held her ground when everyone else backed down. These are the validations that land, that stick, that stayed in her memory for years. But be warned, this level of understanding is not a game. It's not about getting a response. It's about building connection through compliance. And here's the twist. These emotional gaps are not flaws. They are wounds. Her need for validation. It likely came from early rejection, her addiction to uncertainty, from broken trust, her competitiveness, from never feeling like she was the first choice. You do not exploit these gaps. You respect them. You navigate them with clarity and maturity. You give her what she needs without losing what you are. If you become her emotional sponge, she'll drain you. If you become her emotional mirror, she will ignore you. But if you become her emotional map, you'll be the first man to ever lead her to herself. And that, my friend, is sourceable. The 5 female emotional gaps. Final cap. 1. Validation. Thekimetsky she secretly craves. 2. Uncertainty. The mystery that fuels her desire. 3. Competition. The instinct that makes her pursue. 4. Emotional leadership. The stability she can't collapse into. 5. Psychological peace. The code that unlocks your devotion. Pick one. Master it for 7 days. Not halfway, not casually. Fully. Watch how she changes. Watch how fuel bends around your presence. Watch silence becomes your most powerful. This is be masculine. Asterisk, and remember, the man she fears losing is not the loudest in the room, but the one who understands her better than she understands herself. Like this breakdown, leave a comment, hit subscribe, and share this with Eamon, who's ready to stop chasing and